People want to live better. They want more jobs and better jobs. Lower interest rates for business loans and say better heating during winter. The wording is different, but the European Commission has been saying all these things and a lot more to the Western Balkans for several years, Kosovo included. This is what we're talking about. Although she never wanted to leave Kosovo, Grace understood the youth trying to migrate illegally. For 2 years, she struggled with finding a job until she was hired by Pestova, a factory in the town of Ushtri.
Kom pas shumë depresion se mu ka duk Kosova si një vend që kur asnjëri nuk ka me mujt abden me punu punën që ai e don. Tash ndina shumë mirë, jam shumë e qetë edhe me shumë vullnet e punoj punën ta.
Gresa is one of the 26 new employees at the factory that cultivates and sells potatoes and its byproducts. The owner, Bedri Kosumi, proudly says the expansion of his company happened thanks to grants from the European Union, Kosovo's Ministry of Agriculture, and the recently lowered interest rates for business loans.
Dhe kjo na ka dhënë hapësinë që ne të krijojmë një biznes më stabil. Fjala është për produkte të reja nga patatja, që shumë shpejt do të jenë në treg, dhe normalisht që kur ka investime të reja, ka edhe vende të reja të punës. Definitivisht granti I BE-s dhe kreditë të reja kanë krijuar edhe 26 vende të reja të punës.
This story shows us the way ahead, but as illustrated by the EU report, there are still a number of things that need to be done. The European Commission's report observed that limited progress has been made by Kosovo towards becoming a functioning market economy, blaming primarily informality and corruption. To tackle these issues, the EU works with Kosovo institutions in order to ensure the legislation is in compliance with EU standards on anti-corruption. Mrs. Veprore Shehu, Executive Director of Medica Kosova, is a pioneer activist of women's rights in Kosovo, dealing primarily with victims of the 1999 war, just like the ones she's greeting here.
There is quite a big connection between being a survivor of war violence and at the same time trying to survive on day-to-day basis with all the challenges, gender discrimination, inequality, and different kinds of challenges because of patriarchal environment still quite strong in our society.
EU grants have been actively helping the economic empowerment of Kosovo women, including women who have been the victims of war, so that they themselves can challenge these patriarchal structures. The case of the women who run the factory of processed vegetables in southern Kosovo is a good example of this help.
Në 2014 gjetëm shtetja për Bashkimit Evropian ku na është ndërtu kjo objekt. Edhe vitin 2014 këtu kanë punu 24 veta, ndërsa vitin 2015 janë 43 veta që janë punësume. Mendimin e Bashkimit Evropian dhe mendimin e Ministrisë së Bujqësisë, po dhe mendimin e vetë grave. Kooperativa Veshëritës shpresoj që vitin e ardhshëm rreth kooperativës të janë mbi 120 veta.
As indicated by this year's EU report, the new package of human rights laws, specifically the recently adopted law on gender equality, supported by the EU and the Council of Europe, signals further progress in providing more helpful arguments for women's rights groups. For almost 15 years, this family from Pristina could not sit comfortably in their living room, at least not without a blanket to cover themselves due to the lack of proper heating.
Vanesa 4 dhomëshe është nxjerrë vetëm një dhomë, kurse 3 dhoma kanë qenë të ftofta dhe jo në shfrytzu natën, domethënë për me flet, kemë fjetë në dhoma të ftofta. Shkaku dihet rryma shumë shtrejt, me nxjerrë çdo dhomë.
But this is history now, at least for 60,000 inhabitants of Pristina, and next year this number should go as high as 85,000.
Jem shumë të kënaqur. Kem zemje 24 orë.
A 36 million euro project with around 14 million given by the European Union has raised Pristina's central heating to EU standards by making a shift from the pollutant mazout to steam. The EU report emphasizes the inefficiency of the energy sector and high pollution levels.
Në një studim që ka ka botore para disa viteve, kanë ardhur në konkludim se Kosova si kushton afërsisht 220-230 milion euro vetëm për shkak të ndotjes së ambientit. Një prej ndosëve më të madh dihet se është sektori energjetik, edhe ky duhet me kon targeti i qeverisë Kosovës për me zvogëlu ndikimet negative mjedis.
These are just some of the issues addressed in the European Commission's report on Kosovo. The goal of the EU is to help direct Kosovo towards concrete political, economic and social development. The EU does not just measure the progress, it supports it actively, both politically and through financial assistance. But it is up to the Kosovo society to decide when and how to move forward. The EU is here to lend its hand in the process.
Elle se fera par des réalisations concrètes, créant d'abord une solidarité de fait.